So the next speaker is actually going to be talking a bit more from a security perspective. So the next speaker is going to be Julia, talking a bit about how you can use actually CDK in a FedRAMP setting. So in a more sensitive, environment where obviously security and privacy are very important. So I see Julia's already here. Hey, good morning there. Nice to have you here.
Thank you.
We're going to hand it over to you for your talk. So good luck, have fun, and see you after the talk.
Great. Thanks, Thorsten and Marek. Thanks for everybody being here for my presentation. Hope you're having a great time at CDK 2020. Lots of great talks going on. This presentation is about how AWS CDK was used to create a FedRAMP compliant infrastructure. I'm going to get started by introducing myself. My name is Julia Jacobs. Currently, I am a senior cloud automation engineer for a company called Axiom. Axiom specializes in providing data to marketing companies. I'm going to talk a little bit about my cloud background. I've done a lot of work for infrastructure as a service companies like Rackspace and BMC. I was a Heroku platform engineer at Salesforce. I was awarded the Azure BizSpark startup program and got the AWS Associate Solutions Architect certification, and really, really happy to be part of the AWS Community Builder program. This presentation is going to be a little bit more in a story format. I'm going to discuss a use case from a company that I worked at. And so let's go back to the beginning. This company is a healthcare broker. The product that they provide is targeted towards individuals who are not qualified to get group healthcare plans. So they offer a choice of healthcare providers with minimal anonymous customer input on their website. The idea is there's a easy, friendly, non-invasive experience on their website for healthcare shopping. The application architecture and infrastructure is like a step above MVP. It's very simple. It's what they call MERN, which is similar to mean stack, but you have React, Redux, MongoDB. The cloud service provider they were using was Heroku, and they were using the Firebase OAuth service. So super simple, not even set to scale. They were on a single dyno, no kind of logging or statistics to find out, whether they needed to scale or not. They were at a place where they wanted to improve the customer experience. When they, during the process of having a customer find providers from the government healthcare exchange, all they offered on their website was a redirect to the healthcare.gov website, which really wasn't ideal for the user experience. So what they wanted was tighter data integration with healthcare.gov, so they could show the information from the healthcare providers within their search results, as opposed to just a redirect. The problem is getting access to that data from healthcare.gov requires FedRAMP compliance. On this slide, I'm going to put a couple of links in this presentation to resources of interest. And I just thought anybody who's interested in finding out more about government APIs or data sources for any type of healthcare projects, you can go to cms.gov and take a look at their APIs and excuse me, data sets and any information on using them. I was just reading TechCrunch yesterday, and there was news on startups that were in this space, and how hot things were with COVID and everything. So anyway, so what is FedRAMP? Unlike something like HIPAA, which is a security standard that is very generalized across the board, FedRAMP is specific to the cloud service space. Just straight off the FedRAMP website, here's a definition. FedRAMP simplifies security for the digital age by providing a standardized approach to security for the cloud. FedRAMP facilitates the shift from insecure, tethered, tedious IT to secure, mobile, nimble, and quick IT. So in the search of FedRAMP compliant cloud service providers, who are you going to use? Obviously AWS, obviously, right? Why AWS? AWS has a number of FedRAMP compliant services, and you could see this. They list them in scope. You click on the FedRAMP tab here, and you could see all the services. So if you're looking to create a FedRAMP compliant application, you can consider what product you want to use, and then you could see whether it's compliant or not. Just as an aside, if you're, obviously you want to use, like S3, like an S3 bucket, even though it says it's compliant, if you set up an unencrypted S3 bucket, obviously you're not following the controls of compliance. So, that's something to consider. Oops. The other product that AWS provides for FedRAMP compliance is a FedRAMP security package called AWS Artifact. And this is available. You actually have to have an account and log in to take a look at this. When I came onto the company, I kind of had this vision when it came to performing this migration. My background is not just on the architecture side. I've kind of worked in lots of different areas in the development life cycle, or I don't know what you want to call it. I've worked on the creative side, development, project management, API, front end, back end. I've also been an organizer for different meetups and pair programming meetups, and done training. So for me, when I come into a company, and one of the reasons I came to this startup was I wanted to be a part of a culture or influence a culture where folks could have a career path and not be pigeonholed, and just own every aspect of that software process. So I wanted the migration process to be a part of that, to be kind of keeping that culture in mind. So when we discussed migration, I made that part of my suggestion on how we were going to do that. So they had hired an architect consultant before I came, and his suggestion to perform the deployment was a kind of a lift and shift. And he said to hire a DevOps person and deploy a NIST quick start template. I don't know, for those of you that aren't familiar with AWS quick start templates, they're CloudFormation templates that you can deploy that sort of create out of the box infrastructure. So this NIST template actually creates an infrastructure that's FedRAMP compliant. It's good for lift and shift type architecture. You see, you've got like the standard 3-tier. You have development and production. You have this management VPC, which you can use for auditing and managing roles and policies and accounts. So that this was his solution. What I proposed was to use some kind of serverless framework or solution to train and empower the developers to own the infrastructure with guidance from a mentor. And luckily, I was able to get buy-in. So that's kind of how I was able to introduce AWS CDK. So that's kind of part, again, this is sort of like part of the story. So the next part of the puzzle was talking to the audit consultants. This is sort of what it was like talking to the audit consultants. The FedRAMP culture was a little stuck in 2012 when it came to cloud architecture. I mean, they're not really now. There's been a lot of work in that area, but at the time, it was a little bit challenging to work with them to get information on, can I do this? Can I do that? What do you think about this architecture? And they really couldn't think beyond like standard, ECT, sorry, like kind of that EC2, like what I showed you in that NIST template. So that was a bit of a challenge, but I pushed ahead and evaluated different types of platforms and serverless solutions, and found AWS CDK. Yay! The best thing out there, obviously. So I'm sure everybody's talked about why AWS CDK is awesome. I've got a bunch of bullet points why it's awesome. But we had those React Redux developers. They looked at the code, they saw the design pattern. Hey, we know that. modular. I passed over serverless.com because it's a little too much infrastructure as YAML. The CTO loved it. I showed him the video from reInvent, I think it was 2018, and it was love. And of course, everybody knows the AWS CDK team and community are awesome. So that's actually a big deal when it comes to choosing a solution. I'm not going to really get into some of the other things I looked into, but definitely interaction was not as positive. So after I got the buy-in, as part of the fun stuff began. I created some cool looking architecture diagrams, dug into those AWS CDK docs, the repo, did the tutorial, and I created my first shiny new CDK app, a 3-tiered infrastructure. And I don't know, for those of you that start off with the infrastructure, a 3-tiered infrastructure is basically this. CDK, it does a lot of heavy lifting with some of the methods, but I mean, I guess the point is I didn't know a whole lot, but I got a whole lot in return. The big pain point when it came to working with CDK and the engineering folks and the CTO was this paradigm shift from a PaaS product integration like Firebase, MLab, and Heroku to AWS to that shared responsibility model was, I had a number of issues. The CTO we didn't have multiple environments. There was production, and everything went into production, and there was a number of accounts in production. So, we had a number of S3 buckets, no encryption. It was difficult to, there was a lot of training involved. It wasn't just training AWS CDK, it was security training. It was sort of like DevOps training. It was just like basic 5-pillar AWS training. There was just a lot of training that I needed to do. I had to create multi-account environments. I had to explain, why we deploy. I mean, why we bother with automation. Why we can't do everything through the console. And the way that I was able to sort of get around that without sounding like just a nag that, made everybody's lives difficult, was, hey, you guys want to be FedRAMP compliant? Well, you can't be FedRAMP compliant unless you do these things. And, we had this big FedRAMP security controls baseline. These are like the laws. And, we had things like separation of duties. So, every account had to be, sort of equal a roles. What are you doing in the company? Well, we have one admin, so we need an admin account. Only one person can deploy things. We have least privilege. Well, that's a control. We have to do that. Otherwise, we won't be FedRAMP compliant, and you can't do the thing that you hired me to do. So, and the big thing was everything is audited. So I would say, okay, well, if you don't want to deploy this, in production, or, then you have to create a run book, which is kind of a pain in the butt. So, it's like, all right, okay, we'll deploy it. So, it was a little pulling teeth with all of this. And that was kind of a big deal. But we got a lot done. The migration plan consisted of taking Firebase OAuth and migrating it to Amazon Cognito and creating a CDK app for Amazon Cognito. The data migration was a little tricky because they wanted to, first they wanted to do a remodel on the data, which took forever. And then they wanted to, work with Heroku Postgres SQL. And then we had to kind of create a, use VPC peering from Heroku to some DynamoDB Lambda apps. And then I wound up creating a CDK RDS app, but we never really used the RDS instance because this never really got worked out. For the API services, I really wished we could have used AppSync for this, but I just couldn't make the training happen. I couldn't really get the buy-in for that at the time. So, this became, let's throw all this into a Docker container, and then let's do the, ECR, ECS, Fargate process sort of thing. So that was a CDK app. And then the static front end wound up in CloudFront, and that was a CDK app. So we were able to get everything into CDK apps. So that worked out. And all these are links to, you've got the module, everything here. I notice I'm sort of running out time a little bit, so let me just go through this super quick. We had some sticky points. These are some sticky points, and this has to do with the time that I was there. A lot of this has been no longer applies. Amazon AWS was not GA when it came to CloudFormation support of code pipelines, secrets manager, parameter store, ECS, ECR, and Cognito, which made things difficult. Until CDK supported the injection of AWS SDK API calls with AWS custom resources, I was not able to manage secrets in my CDK app. With the support of the AWS CDK team and community interaction, I was able to create a multi-service, multi-account pipeline. One of the great things you're going to hear today is information about creating these pipelines, which is an awesome thing. I created some CDK modules. Let me go through this really quick. Another big deal in this company was open enrollment. This is when people can enroll in a health insurance plan. This was 90% of the revenue of the company. Rapid call center expansion, high stress, constant website triage, tight website feature demands. So when this happened in the company, sort of everything sort of fell apart, and the focus shifted to marketing tech and analytics products, and the decision was made that compliance was not worth the investment. And I was hearing things like it's cheaper to write code than work with cloud products like GovCloud, Macy, data migration, etc. We just couldn't get out of startup firefighting mode to train anybody. We really just didn't have enough talent to support the work involved, and we couldn't compete with easier to use services like Sentry versus CloudWatch, Circle CI, GitHub Actions versus Code Build and Code Pipeline. Nobody, we wrote all these CDK apps, wrote a pipeline, nobody was using it because we couldn't get anybody off of Heroku, just because, we got to write features, it's just like, couldn't get out of that firefighting mode. Let me go back just to say, they just weren't making enough. The reason that they wanted to be FedRAMP compliant, it wasn't making them enough revenue. 90% of their revenue was from call centers. So they didn't want to make the investment. The moral of the story is compliance is really expensive. You have to, it has to be worth it. So it wasn't, and that was the problem. So where am I now? I'm a senior cloud automation engineer for public cloud department in a multi-billion-dollar company. Axiom is owned by IPG Group. That's a huge company. I am in charge of creating custom security validation, evidence, serverless application, and infrastructure development in AWS. I get to work with, enterprise landing zone infrastructure, consult on AWS products, work with AWS product teams. I get to play with the real expensive AWS products. I don't have to worry about any of the, costs. So I guess we really can't do Q&A because it's so this is actually this is the presentation. Let me put this in. I'll put this in Slack, but that's it. And thanks everybody for being there, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the day. Thanks a lot.
All right, Julia, thank you so much for coming by today and giving us a talk about your experience with getting this, getting your organization moved over to the CDK. It sounds like you found a lot of problems along the way, but in the end, it sounds like you won the day with them. So congratulations. Thank you again for coming by.